I want to give an answer to Rabbi Tobias Singer, and actually just Jews in general, or religious, or Jews, or and Jews and Christians about the Bible, the translation, the Torah, Tanakh, and the Christian Bible, Old Testament. Right now, imagine, okay, if you want to really deviate the English language, you were the devil, right? You were America. So you would, let's say you have the Torah written in the original language, right? And you wanted to deviate that language, and then so there's words that have precise definitions, and there's certain grammar things and ways of parsing that you would change. And just like the way they try to change definitions in over time in America today, like the word queer, right? Uh, or some other, all pretty much every word. And then you start doing grammar and stuff like that, and then you would, in 1,000 years, you would have people speaking the same thing, but they would mean something completely different. And that's kind of what the devil did with the Torah and Jews, right? And Catholics are in on this too, because the Jews just do this because, anyway, because what happened is the Torah, in its original language, and that's all the little, it's written in its original language, it's not translated. Okay, words from the Lord's standpoint have the same meaning all the time for all time. There is no advancing or evolving or any of that mess. In fact, when you go down to the original, it's so detailed and scientific and just beyond stuff. You're just like, man, this is millions of years ahead of where we are today, or even it's by the Lord. It was created by the Lord, the Creator of the universe. Um, so what you have is the Torah Tanakh. It's the language of the Jews of Jews today are is sounds the same, but it's not the same. It's kind of like that thing. All right, and Tobias Singer was saying, oh, well, there's nowhere that says that Jews don't believe in the Messiah, then they're going to go to hell. Well, one, no one's going to hell because hell's not a place. Hell is a condition. It means to be demand removal. And two, Tobias, Rabbi, you know that's not true. Okay, and it goes to the cryptography or the actual meaning, because what you have is here's the actual meaning, then they just covered it. They covered it. They tried to put it. They put it in a box and then wrapped it in some wrapping paper, and and just tried to hide what's in the box. But existence can't be hidden, so they're just basically hiding it from their mind, right? They're hiding it from in the fifth dimension. They're just cutting off here. No, the Torah absolutely does say, okay, that Yahweh Ev Ha'adamah, the instance of the Ha'adamah, and he was given the ID, the real ID of Terence Eatsmack, which does not mean not yet plants. It means the exertion of power that you can look and see and understand as emanating of stopping, of arresting the movement of clouds, right? It's the same as Yitrick, which is erasing clouds, which is the same ID that Jesus Christ said he would have, except for they mistranslated that too to mean, coming in the clouds, using the coming in the clouds, his power, going to see power in the cloud. That's Yitzhak or Terem is what that is. Yitzhak is what that is. It's Samion means it's you're projecting your energy up among the clouds. He's not actually coming down from the clouds. He's projecting his energy up among the clouds and exerting power. And you can look, see, and understand that, hey man, that guy's exerting power on the clouds. The clouds are disappearing. That's the same sign as the Hayadama. And it says, okay, in the Torah, it says all throughout, but in Bereshit, bet that's a sign. And the king, the leaders of the governments have to recognize, pay tribute, recognize that this is Yehovah. Yehovah is anointed to, because these people, the kings of the earth, he's the king of kings. The kings of the earth are Elohim, which they rule by agitation and confusion. Right, so this happened with the Torah over time. Now, he also was making a point. He was saying, Abraham or this never, one, it doesn't matter what you believe, it's what you do. Show me I don't give a shit what you say you believe. I'll know what you believe by what you do. Right? And so for a person to acknowledge loyalty to Yehovah, they have to do as required concerning the one Adam physically when he comes to earth. And I was there. I'm sorry, but Abraham did do that. And Moshe did do that. Okay? They did. They acknowledged and paid tribute, financial tribute to me. And thus, they became Yehud, Jews. Right, the word, real Jew. A real Jew, not just the word Jew. All right, a real Jew, which is bringing into existence the conditions of the Torah, doing what the Torah said. And we're just talking about at the very beginning, Bereshit. Because if you don't do these first two things with the one Adam, then you don't have any. You have not acknowledged loyalty to Yehovah. Now, the Jews have a separate covenant that they published the Torah in its original language, because even though they're putting it in a box and covering it, they still are publishing this, and you have to see the cryptography, because not even just the cryptography in the translations, but the cryptography of the individual letters and every little jot, every little dot, every little dash, every little thing. Okay, they're extremely important. Okay, so he's talking about just the outer packaging, and they're without excuse. They're simply there is no excuse. Okay, and so, a lot of several psychics, saying, well, you united a lot of people against you, and which is true. It was the Catholic Church, the Jews of all things, possibly Muslims, and the Masons, in the Protestant Church, and then some other things in governments and whatnot. So all these energies came against me, because one of my things, what I told them was, hey, it doesn't matter if I'm just one dude, one man with the Lord, has come with the Lord, is more powerful than every person on this earth coming against him. And even the Jews in Israel do not have this covenant with the Lord. They only have the covenant that I'm going to keep them as a people as long as they publish my Torah. Not that they're BS translations, which there is some usefulness to it. Okay, it's not totally. There's some positive thing, and you have to deal with the development of mind, because their emotional stability? Can they handle this kind of thing? Because it might freak uh, animal minds out in rebellion, but they're going to be killed anyway. So it's a rebellion. Um, so yeah, the point is that that's BS. That the Torah doesn't say that. It says it very clearly from the second chapter of Bereshit. Okay, and it goes on and repeats it over and over again in pretty much every book of the Tanakh, Old Testament. And then Jesus, the Greeks came along, or the Romans, and there are some. It's yes, a lot of it's just nuts and frauds, and they try to twist it to. Because what they're doing is they're taking this box, the paper, and then they're taking that over there, okay, and then the Catholics, because back in 1945 when Hitler was, before that in Germany, Jews began to study really the Torah study and word studies really got big, and that made it possible for them to see these things. So this is why the Catholic Church was in with Hitler and to destroy the Jews, and why it's because their whole thing was based on the outside of the box and keeping the inner part hidden, keeping the true means of connecting to Yahweh. So, people in Israel and practice the religion Judaism are not Yahud. Okay, they're not Yahud. They're Dinos. They're Jews in name only. I don't care if they're Orthodox, Reform, whatever. All the different denominations, just like Christian. It just doesn't matter a whole lot if they're different denominations or Catholic, except for the Catholicism is less is more obvious, and there's less excuse because of certain laws that it's just demonic. Okay, there's just no excuse, but there is so Christianity in itself can be a positive thing to grow people up morally and give them a foundation that you could dive deeper. Now be able to they have to be able to search for the truth, and if something is inconvenient and upsets their whole mind and just unravels everything in their ego, they just have to I want to know the truth no matter the consequences. I made that prayer, and probably about 30 years ago. And I stuck with it. I just got to work digging in. First, I started with the Strong's Concordance and Interlinear Bible, but then I'm finally moved to, because that interlinear and their dictionary is total nonsense. But it's a great place to start, because if you really get you some glasses, I'm glad you can see where they do all kinds of fraud. I mean, it's just blatant, but that's why it's in bad print and small print. Hello, huge fraud. So you can begin to start fraud, and then you can move over to the larger print, better Torah. So Islam, okay. So Islam is a whole other thing, because it's wacko, evil, demonic. Yeah. So and there's the other religions of the world, which are Hinduism, Buddhism. This on there, and there's certain things in there that are yeah. They're under Yahweh Elohim. That's actually me. But Yahweh resides in the one high Adam, which is an idea of Yedrick, and he's the Elohim of the planet. And Yehovah is residing in him. Yehovah actually possesses him. He doesn't really have a choice. you know, so, you know, the world has to be able to do bad things or whatever to me because free choice, free will, right? Free will. That's that. I mean, it's in a human body. Okay, there's not a whole lot supernatural except for that. There's angels and spirits and this and that, and the laws of existence written in the existence field that all work together to protect him, give him a power, whatnot. So his sole purpose first is just to be the means of the means of connecting. Noon is the means is connecting. The Son of the Lord, the means of connecting. You do that. You connect by doing what's required in the Torah, doing what is required, which is tribute, financial tribute, and woman. And it literally says, hey, the woman, these groups, these kings, the rule the nations, it's not on an individual thing, it's on a group thing, on a tree basis, an energetic structure basis. It's a woman, he'll, point like that woman, bang. Okay, and it's not like a Muslim thing where they just take a woman captive against their will. Because, look, we're dealing with a high vibrational spiritual being that is, so he's not gonna, anyway, a great husband. Yeah. So, and money, but it actually speaks specifically about woman and sex. And it really is kind of getting graphic, going in and out. Becoming one flesh. It's like, it's like they're one flesh because they're literally connected in flesh. His penis is in her vagina. It's moving in and out. And they're connected. They become one flesh. And then it's the tribute. Financial tribute is the nations collectively, so taxes or whatever. The nations paying tribute, bringing it from afar to the house of the Lord. And that's his anointed, right? Capital L, small O-R-D, which means sustaining base. This is the sustaining base. Yehovah, Lord, all caps, is existence, right? It's basically universe, existence, continuing existence, creating the condition of existence. It's why. It's what Hashem. That creates the conditions coming to what the heavens, right? Which create the conditions coming to the heavens create the conditions coming to earth. So, but it doesn't pay to argue with a person. So I'm not going to argue with the dude, and I wasn't going to comment on his thing because he's without excuse, and a person that doesn't have the center of their being, Elohim, it's Elohim, is absent God, is absent this paying tribute and acknowledging loyalty to Yehovah through his Adon. This person does not have Elohim at the center of their being, so they are technically, biblically, a fool. Okay, if you contend with a fool, you argue with a fool, discuss with a fool, it doesn't matter if you make them laugh or whatever, there's still no peace. And plus, it's already, he's without excuse. Therefore, Christians are without excuse. Jews are without excuse. Whether they're Orthodox Jews, there's all kinds of wisdom and stuff and great stuff in the Torah, in Christian Bible, and they're both very positive things for the development of mankind. But that's how it just happens. That's how it happened. It was rebellion against the Lord. Rebellion against the Lord and His anointed. They're trying to cast off the cords from us in Proverbs 2, right? They're trying to throw off the cords, and they're trying to say, no God. They're just we're not gonna. And so when they're trying to play whack-a-mole, kill me, control me, whatever, and it was the Catholic Church, the whole Protestant Church, all of it, all Masons. I got attacked. I've been attacked for years, decades, by big time worldwide stuff. I mean, all over the world. And yes, they summoned all kinds of demons at first, but then they basically, once they came against me, they were totally moved, killed, which I don't want to mean. Kill doesn't mean moved, means soul killed, which is meaning that their souls don't emanate anymore. They can't move or whatever energy, so they lost all their ability to do magic, summon demons. They're just, and any energy or spirit they summon is just going to go destroy them. And actually, it's going to multiply by about 1,000, whatever they intended for me, and go back on them. That's just the way it goes. That's it. I didn't do anything about it. I didn't, cast spells or. I mean, okay, all I did was prophesy. Okay, all I did was not even prophesy. I cursed them, which is the same as prophesy, and which is, okay, that is what the one thing that it says about the one high Adam, the person with this idea of tearing to eat smack or a Yitrich, is that he has, okay, he's a male, he's the male. In that part of the Torah, he created the men or women or something like that, but it's really not women. It's talking about men and women. It's talking that he was the designated one, and that God actualizes all his curses. Woman, there's some different markings and little bit pronunciations, but it's not woman. It's actualizing curses. It brings his curses into existence. Meaning, if I curse somebody or something, it is brought into existence. And now, as these attacks have come, what has happened is it's been sensitized, so the response gets faster and faster and faster. And so now it's immediate. And any attacks are just, one, they don't have anything to move energy anymore. They're dead. But they're just not gonna, can't get near me. And even if they could and they killed me, it's not, okay. It pretty much screwed up my body and my life, dude. So, hey, on one hand, hey, I can come back in a new body. I'll come back in 400,000, 4,000, 1,000 years, 2,000 years. Hell, I'll come back. No problem. With a body with 2 arms and fully working, just healthy. But anyway, okay, but if my soul goes down to Zion, then I still have the rod of iron to rule on the face of the earth. So when I'm in a body on the earth, paying tribute to this body and doing what is required, is the only damn way to connect to Yehovah and once nations do that, then there will be peace on earth, and they'll nations that do that are invincible. They can't be, They can't be beaten more. They're just, and eventually it spreads around the world, and there's huge prosperity. Right? But things like some religions are actually kind of ways of sub Elohim, not gods, not true gods, uh, to rule, because it's ruled by delegation a lot of times, because that's just the sole purpose of the High Adam one. That's it. That's his first purpose. That's it. Just to be on Earth, and hey, I come here for you a connection point, and you have to connect properly. You can't connect by doing illegal shit and coming against me and oppose me and not paying tribute, not giving no one, breaking, or especially doing evil shit, breaking in my house, killing my children, coming against my health, trying to kill me several times, me being on dialysis for God knows how long, and because it's been 20 something, been 30 years damn near almost. I've been through some horrific, just painful, just miserable time. I mean decades of this kind of thing, poisonings, and murder, children breaking up homes, and just happy home, just causing all kinds of problems. But these were the energies that did this. All right, so hey, so Rabbi, I have to just say you're wrong, and you know you're wrong, and everyone's without excuse. Okay, that's just the way it is. And so now we look at Psalms 102, was it 19 to 21? So there, but if we get into the original language, see, that has to do with I come down to earth, and I'm visiting and wringing out the energies, squeezing them, seeing what their sap is, and building my list of those condemned to die, those moods, because they haven't connected to the proper way, so they can't be made alive, soul life, chai. They can't. Emanating souls? No. It just, the Lord doesn't roll that way. It's just absolutes. Okay, yeah, he's kind and whatever, but these people, they're so used to this low level thing that they just, and their minds are box. They want to box their minds in so they don't. So people don't see the truth, and they don't go further out, and they self delude themselves. No one is deceived. No one on this earth is deceived about anything unless they want to be. No one on earth is deceived about anything unless they want to be. And you know who said that? Where I heard that first was by Lester Summerall at Abundant Life Church. Now, he's an interesting man. Anyway, so it is not true that okay, no, nowhere in the Old Testament does it say, hey, believe in whatever God. If you don't believe, God's gonna send you to hell. Hell's not a place, hell's a condition, but it does emphatically say many times, and especially in Bereshit, at the beginning of all physical matter, like at its center, at its core, at its in the out, its foundation, that yes, you have to do that. And it doesn't talk about belief, it talks about doing, because don't tell me what you believe, just show me. I know what you believe by what you do. Okay, and then these Christians and Jews are basically taking this outside wrapping box of whatever, and they think that's the thing, and then they build a false thing on top of that, the New Testament, etc., which there is some truth in the New Testament even. Some of it's just complete fraud, But there's some truth to even the Gospels, and there's some interesting things in useful things in Paul, but there's an anti-Semitic bent. So they're and the Jews are partly responsible for that because they're trying to cover up God. They're trying to cover up the Lord God. Really. And they haven't paid tribute. They haven't done what and the Jews have, and the Christians haven't either. And Muslims sure in the hell haven't, or the Hindus, or the Taoists, or etc. 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 Right. Muslims certainly haven't. And it's pretty wicked religion, evil. Um, so look, that's what it is. So there's no use in trying to argue some of these things because you're dealing with it becomes a exercise in foolishness. Trying to argue with the fool because they've already shown that they're a fool by even saying that. Because I used to have a bunch of stuff on our website where I went line by line and took pictures and whatnot, and they were really pushing me hard, like just trying to ruin my life to get me to shut up. Because they really were. Yeah. Oh yeah, trying to kill me. And this is after they already poisoned me a couple times and the dials and just murdered my child, wrecked my home, tried to kill me, and anyway. So, and these are the Christians. These are the Christians and the Jews and the mafia and holy macaroni, dude. Woohoo! So, in the end, okay, my physical body is stale, which is interesting. Also, some of these psychics were saying, well, you have family ancestor or whatever. Well, yes, I do. I have ancestry lineage of Knights Templar, and of kings of Europe, and actually even goes back to I traced it all the way back to like 900 or something, but I didn't trace. That's Grandpa's lineage, which would be interesting. But even without that, we had a lot of Templars and kings and famous or people showing up. So yeah, I guess that could be true, could not be true. True, it could just be. I'm not going to speculate on it. I try to stay pretty grounded in objective reality now, and not think about those kinds of things. So those kinds of things, and I just stay on my foundation of what I know to be absolutely true, provable in objective physical reality. And that's the way objective physical reality, honesty. With the Torah, and by the Torah I mean that right there. In its original meaning, its actual meaning, which is not what Jews, people of Israel, citizens of Israel, and whatnot, when they speak today. No, it's not. It may be the same letters, words, but it's kind of like, hey, they changed, things just kind of over time, and they change grammatical rules and definitions, and it's a slow deviation. You should not turn to the right or the left, but it was deviation over a long period of time. Now, what happened was also is the Catholics and the Christians, they have a vested interest in keeping that box wrapping and that hidden. So they have a vested interest in actually getting rid of the Jews in their covenant with the Lord to publish the Torah and then have their fake translation. They're afraid they're going to be found out, which is why there's been which is the basis of anti-Semitism. It's against the Lord God, and it's that's what it is, and that's the basis of anti-Semitism. That's why Hitler was brought, a cult brought it up, and by demons to try to do that, and it's been going on throughout history. It's not a new thing. So Palestinians, Muslims, you see, they're definitely evil and oppose the Lord, and they are even a silent arm of certain of these to go against Israel. I don't mean the nation Israel. I don't mean Israel as in Yisrael, which actually means the existence of being right and overwhelming power, because they're not right. Okay, they're not right with this. They're not absolutely right. No, they're trying to hide and control, put in their dungeon. The same way the Catholics and the Christians, they all got together. They don't necessarily like it. They got together to try to put me down, kill me, destroy, control me. Hey, I know I don't want to shout your illusions. I know you think Christianity and Jesus is all wonderful, sweetness and light and all that crap, but no. Sorry, it's just not that way. So that's where I am now. I mean, because it could have been a whole lot different had, once I revealed Simeon into Uranus or Yitzmak, which Yitzmak, I like that as far rather than Terem. No, I like Yitrik rather than Terem Yitzmak, because Yitrik is Job like 11, basically. It says that God can erase heavy clouds. God, and that's the term God is Falal, right? It's really Elohim. It's office. The man occupies a physical human being, a man. All right, and he has Yehovah residing in him or taking possession, like, of his body. He's possessed, and and if they end up killing the body, and then, well, I guess that's just a risk Yehovah is willing to get with the body, because he can. It my soul would back, and so me and Yehovah and I have been together a long time. I have a lot of lifetimes on this earth. You better believe it. So, that's just that. I'm just wanted to correct or Rabbi Singer on that, which is he really is speaking for all Jews and even Christians on this matter. On this, I know, because there's the whole they're arguing with each other, but they're actually of the same energy, which is opposing Yehovah and not paying tribute to Yehovah Elohim when he comes in the form of the one high Adam, the instance of the high Adam, with Terem or Yismak, Teruma, and the exertion of power that you can look, see, and understand is imitating. Which is erasing heavy clouds, which is what the Teruma offering has to do with, which is in Malachi 3. Bring all the tithes into the storehouse. Let's talk about the Teruma offering. And the Teruma offering actually has to do with cannabis. Quanabis. Right, which it means to acquire legally. That's what the word actually comes from, but it's cannabis. And it's tithes from the sale of cannabis, which is the holy herb. Um, 20% of that is the teruma, or 10% of that's the teruma offering, which is totally separate from uh, basically tithes. Right. That's a whole nother thing. It's, yeah, okay, I don't want to get off the subject. So that's that. Okay, no, it doesn't say if Jews don't believe, because most belief has to do with emotions and thought. It, the Torah never, no, God doesn't, no, the Lord doesn't. Guess what you do? Don't, show me what you do, and I'll know what you believe. Come on.